Right. I have everything I need. Writing the script now. Everyone was watching CyberLeek. That was the whole story this week. Every new GTA 6 clip appeared and every single pair of eyes in this community immediately snapped to the same person, the same source, the same direction. Rockstar was watching CyberLeek. Take-Two's lawyers were watching CyberLeek. The gaming press was watching CyberLeek. Reddit was watching CyberLeek. Every GTA YouTuber, every Discord server, every mapper, every casual fan who hadn't opened a forum since 2013, all of them looking at the same thing at the same time. And while everyone was looking that way, something else apparently walked right through the front door from a completely different direction. Another leak, different material, different circumstances, reportedly a completely different source. And if you haven't heard about this one yet, it's because the community that found it quietly sat on it for hours, maybe longer, while they tried to figure out what they were even looking at. Because this isn't gameplay footage. It doesn't show Jason driving through Vice City. It doesn't show a basketball court or a 6-star wanted level or an aircraft buzzing across Leonida. What this apparently is something that in some ways is more unsettling for Rockstar than anything CyberLeek has posted. Because CyberLeek showed us the world. This new material may have handed technically skilled people the tools to measure it. Buckle in, because we need to talk about an Xbox graphics capture file. If you are the kind of person who watches every GTA 6 video the moment it drops, subscribes right now. Seriously, hit the button. The pace at which new information is coming out this week is unlike anything we've seen since 2022, and I'm not slowing down. Subscribe and let's go. Okay, Xbox graphics capture. What on earth is that, and why does it matter? Because I know most of you heard those 3 words and your eyes glazed over for a second, and I don't blame you. It sounds like something a software engineer explains to you at a party until you pretend to get a phone call. But I promise this is actually fascinating once you understand what it means, so stay with me for 60 seconds. About a normal video of GTA 6 gameplay. You see a frame. You see what Rockstar rendered. A road? A building? Jason's face? A police car? Whatever. That's essentially a photograph of the finished picture. The output. The thing the game drew on screen at that moment. Now imagine that instead of just recording the picture, a tool recorded information about what the computer was actually doing to construct that picture. Not the painting hanging on the wall, something closer to the artist's notes. The measurements, the geometry, the materials, the architecture underneath the image. That is roughly what a graphics capture tool can do when it records a frame being rendered. According to GTA insider Ben, known as Videotech on X, an Xbox graphics capture file essentially contains information gathered from the console's GPU and CPU while rendering a frame. Community member Cal, who has been discussing the technical aspects publicly, explained that a complete GPU capture of a single frame can contain the 3D geometry being used at that moment, along with textures, resources and other information the GPU needs to construct what appears on screen. So when someone says an Xbox graphics capture file containing GTA 6 data has leaked, they are not saying someone has a playable copy of GTA 6. Let me be very clear about that, because I've already seen people saying exactly that online and it's wrong. This is not a playable build of the game. You cannot install this and play GTA 6. The file reportedly contains rendering data, technical information from the process of the game drawing a scene. That is a completely different thing. But it's a completely different thing that in the right hands is extremely interesting, because the people who have the skills to look inside it aren't watching what Rockstar wanted to show them. They're potentially looking at pieces of what Rockstar used to build it. Now let's talk about what's reportedly been found inside this thing. According to Twisted Voxel, Insider Gaming, GameRanks and multiple credible outlets reporting on this today, the file is described as containing a significant amount of game data, 3D models, map textures, telemetry, dimensional information including skybox height, and map depth dimensions. And according to Insider Gaming, tech-savvy individuals have already used this material to compile what is being called a complete structural blueprint of the GTA 6 map. Let me take these one at a time because each one matters differently. 3D models first. When people talk about 3D models leaking from a game build, they often imagine character faces or weapon designs. And that stuff is in there potentially, sure. But from a mapping perspective, 3D geometry is something much more valuable. Models of buildings, roads, terrain features, bridges, coastline structures, these are pieces of the world itself. If you have enough of them, and you know how to read them, you can start understanding the shape of what Rockstar has built. You're not looking at a screenshot of Leonida anymore. You're potentially looking at the underlying objects that make Leonida what it is. That's a completely different kind of information. Then textures. Textures are essentially the surface detail applied to 3D geometry. What makes a road look like asphalt? What makes a building wall look like concrete? What makes grass look like grass? From a mapping standpoint, textures can tell you things. Regional textures suggest geographic identity. Road surface textures can imply road type. Environmental textures can differentiate biomes. A swamp looks different from a beach, looks different from an urban district. And those differences exist in the texture data before they ever appear on screen. But the two that really matter for the mapping community are height maps and the minimap texture. Let's do height maps properly, because this is where things get genuinely exciting. A height map is essentially a representation of terrain elevation. It tells you not just that land exists somewhere, but how that land rises and falls. Instead of a flat outline that says there is terrain here, a height map says this region rises, this valley dips, this coastal area flattens, this area climbs. For a fictional state inspired by Florida, which in real life is famously, sometimes brutally flat, this is a crucial piece of information. Florida has variation. It has wetlands at or near sea level. It has interior rises. It has coastal topography that shapes how water moves. Rockstar's Leonida presumably exaggerates some of this for gameplay purposes, and a height map potentially tells you the shape of all of it, not just where land is, but what form that land takes. According to Videotech on X, and corroborated by Twisted Voxel's reporting, community members have already extracted height maps from this file. They have that data. And given how the GTA mapping community has operated for years, the idea of what happens next when obsessive, technically skilled people have actual elevation data for Leonida is equal parts impressive and slightly unhinged. Then the minimap texture. Oh boy. For context, the minimap in GTA games is the small map that appears in the corner of the screen while you play. The texture used to render that minimap contains the shape of the world as Rockstar intended players to see it during gameplay. According to Videotech's post that broke this story on X today, community members have already extracted this texture, which means they are potentially looking at a map representation that Rockstar built for use inside the actual game, not a community reconstruction, not a fan estimate, not a triangulated coordinate approximation. The actual shape of Leonida, as the game's own UI was going to present it. Sit with that for a second. The GTA mapping community has spent years building their reconstruction from fragments. Road signs visible for 1 second in a trailer, utility pole configurations, sun angle against a building facade, coordinate data embedded in 2022 development footage. The Grand Theft Auto 6 mapping project led by Dupizio are assembled an 18,000 by 18,000 unit canvas of Leonida from those tiny fragments over years of painstaking work. GTA Forums admin Spider-Vice has confirmed that the GTA mapping project and GTA Wiki Discord servers have both been keeping close tabs on this new material as it emerged. These are the most credible people in the community for this kind of thing. When they're paying attention, you pay attention. And now imagine giving those same people an actual minimap texture. Rockstar spent years protecting the shape of this world. The mapping community rebuilt pieces of it with geometry homework and stubbornness, and then a graphics capture file handed them something they had never had before. I cannot decide whether this is hilarious or extraordinary, so I'm going with both. Here's the thing that needs to be said clearly about the community's response to this. Though, it's been genuinely responsible. The file, according to multiple sources including Videotech's original post, is currently being kept from public distribution. Portions of its contents have been examined by trusted community members, but the raw file itself is not being posted publicly. You can see how these communities operate when something sensitive arrives. They don't just dump it. They talk about it carefully, they verify it, and they keep the most sensitive material controlled while still informing the community that it exists and what it contains at a high level. In fact, part of the reason this story didn't break earlier is that the community reportedly wasn't certain what they were even looking at when the file first appeared. The data is said to have been circulating for some time before its significance became fully clear to those sharing it. That's actually a fascinating detail. The idea that GTA 6 development data could be floating around in front of people who don't immediately recognize it, who think it might be something else. Something boring, something irrelevant, before someone with the right technical knowledge looks at it and realizes what it actually contains. That's a very specific kind of digital archaeology, and it happened here. Now there's also a skeptical voice worth hearing. Community member PL Titus, when this broke, apparently dismissed the file as mostly some useless beads. And that perspective matters too. Not every file that gets described as a treasure chest actually contains treasure. Technical data can be misread. Partial renders don't automatically define the full game. Debug assets exist. Unused models exist. Old assets from earlier builds exist that may have been completely replaced by now. Level of detail models, the lower quality versions of geometry that appear when you're far away in the game, can look strange and misleading when examined in isolation. A texture that appears in a UI minimap for one build of the game may not reflect the final product's geography with full accuracy. These are real concerns, and I'm not going to ignore them just because the exciting version of this story is more fun to tell. The honest version of this story is, technically skilled people have something interesting. They are examining it carefully. Some of what they've already extracted, height maps. a minimap texture, appears to be genuine GTA 6 rendering data, and what it reveals about Leonida is still being understood. The community that knows the most about this is proceeding carefully. That's worth respecting. Now let's talk about where this file apparently came from, because this is where the story gets a different kind of complicated. According to Insider Gaming and Twisted Voxel, claims circulating alongside the material suggest the leak originated from a successful phishing attack targeting a Rockstar employee. Ben from Videotech, when asked directly whether this was connected to an alleged Xbox development kit leak, said the material appears to have originated from a phishing attack on a Rockstar employee. That's a very specific claim about origin. However, and this is important, there has been no official confirmation of that origin from Rockstar or any other authoritative source. The phishing claim is what's being reported as the explanation circulating with the files themselves. That's what people claiming knowledge of the source are saying. It is not confirmed. And it's absolutely essential to separate this from the Take-Two legal actions that are happening simultaneously. Take-Two filed subpoenas in a New York federal court on August 20th seeking records from both Microsoft and Discord. The Microsoft subpoena asks for internal business records and investigative records connected to Microsoft's own internal investigation of the CyberLeek persona, including anything related to GitHub, OneDrive, or linked Xbox accounts. The Discord subpoena asks for identifying information on accounts that were communicating in specific Discord servers connected to the leak activity between June 1, 2026 and now. Both companies have until September 4 to respond. A Discord spokesperson confirmed the subpoena's legitimacy and described their standard procedure of reviewing and complying with valid DMCA subpoenas. The Xbox CTO Scott Van Vliet posted publicly that Microsoft is working closely with Take-Two and Rockstar to support efforts to protect creative works and intellectual property. Here is where I need to be extremely clear. The fact that an Xbox graphics capture file is involved in this second leak does not mean Microsoft leaked GTA 6. There is no evidence of that. The fact that Take-Two's subpoena involves Microsoft seeking information related to the CyberLeek investigation does not mean Microsoft caused the CyberLeek situation. Take-Two is using a process under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act that allows copyright holders to request information that may help identify suspected infringers. This is not a lawsuit against Microsoft. This is not an accusation against Xbox. This is a legal records request under a specific process, full stop. Anyone telling you Microsoft leaked GTA 6 is giving you a story that the actual reporting does not support. What makes the timing genuinely chaotic is that these two completely different stories are running simultaneously. Take-Two is in federal court seeking records related to CyberLeek. At the same time, an apparently separate Xbox graphics capture file containing GTA 6 data is circulating through technical communities. These may share a source. They may not. Current reporting treats them as distinct incidents. That distinction has not been definitively proven either way. And as Digital Trends noted, some users have even questioned whether parts of this new material might actually have originated in the 2020-22 breach, rather than representing a fresh leak, meaning the chain of custody for some of this data may be even more complicated than it appears. What we can say is that Rockstar is dealing with a situation that has become structurally more complex than stop one person from uploading videos, and that complexity is the most important part of this story. Because here's the difference between what CyberLeek represents as a problem and what this Xbox graphics capture represents as a problem. CyberLeek posts gameplay footage. That footage is visual, it's immediately recognizable as GTA 6, and when it appears on YouTube or Reddit or X, Rockstar can issue a copyright takedown. The takedown comes, the video goes down, the battle continues. It's an exhausting game of digital whack-a-mole, but the mechanism is relatively clear. You identify content, you issue takedowns, you pursue the source legally. The problem is bounded even if it's persistent. Technical data is a different problem. Once a height map is extracted from a rendering file and used to create a map reconstruction, that reconstruction is something entirely new. It's community work, built on technical data, and it exists separately from the original file. Once a minimap texture is converted into an image that people use to compare against fan mapping projects, that information is essentially in the wild in a form that doesn't resemble a traditional leak at all. You can take down gameplay footage containing the implications of extracted technical data once knowledgeable people have it as a fundamentally different challenge. The data gets processed. It generates insights. Those insights get discussed, and the people having those discussions are doing something that feels more like map archaeology than copyright infringement. This is the thing CyberLeek gives people something to watch. What this graphics capture gives technically skilled people is something to measure. Those are completely different problems, and they require completely different responses. Now let me talk about what this potentially means for our understanding of Leonida specifically, because that's why most of you watching this actually care about any of it. We came into this week with a certain picture of GTA 6's world, Vice City as the urban core, the Leonida Keys extending south, Grass Rivers, Port Gellhorn, Ambrosia, Mount Calaga. 6 officially confirmed regions, a fan-built reconstruction filling the gaps around them, and the CyberLeek County map image, suggesting 5 counties and various island locations including Gloriana Key, Catalan Key, and Dalton Island, though that map image itself remains disputed by parts of the community. What the graphics capture material potentially adds to all of that is precision. The fan mapping project has done extraordinary work, but it was built from fragments, from coordinates, from creative triangulation. Height map data gives you actual terrain elevation where previously you had estimated terrain elevation. A minimap texture gives you Rockstar's own rendered representation of the world's shape where previously you had community reconstruction. If the community's existing work and the newly extracted data agree on geography, that's a powerful validation of years of mapping effort. If they disagree somewhere, that disagreement is itself information. It tells you where fan reconstruction made an incorrect assumption, and it gives you something more reliable to replace it with. The dimensions apparently pulled from this file include skybox height and map depth. Skybox height matters for aircraft. If you know how high the world allows you to fly, you understand something about how Rockstar has designed air travel within Leonida. Map depth matters for water. It potentially tells you how deep the ocean and waterways actually go, which matters enormously in a setting where the keys and coastlines and channels are core geographic features. Because Leonida is not just surrounded by water, it's woven through with it. The keys connect via bridges over open ocean. The Grass River's wetlands are water-defined landscape. Coastal Vice City is as much about water as it is about land. Understanding the depth and extent of those water systems through actual extracted data rather than visual estimation is genuinely meaningful information. I want to be clear though, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the community has now perfectly mapped every road in Leonida. That would be overreading what's been reported. Partial data from a single rendered frame's GPU capture does not automatically define an entire open world. The geometry present in a single captured frame is whatever the game was rendering at that specific moment, in that specific location, at that specific level of detail. It is not the complete geometry of every square kilometer of snapshot. A very technically rich snapshot that gives informed people real data to work with, but a snapshot nonetheless. The map reconstruction being described as a complete structural blueprint by some outlets is probably ambitious language. More accurately, it appears to give technically capable people the best data they've ever had for understanding the portions of the world captured in that frame. And there's the other thing that has to be said, which is that even if everything in this file is 100% genuine GTA 6 data, which current credible reporting suggests is likely, it may reflect a version of the game that is no longer current. Development maps change, roads move, coastlines get adjusted, terrain gets revised, locations get renamed, assets get replaced or cut entirely, new areas get added. Optimization changes how things are structured at a technical level. This material, based on the phishing claims circulating with it, would have been captured from whatever build the targeted Rockstar employee was working with at the time of the incident. We don't know when that was. We don't know what changed between then and November 19th. Genuinely exciting data can still be outdated data, and treating a development era rendering file as a preview of the exact final retail product is a mistake. But here's where I land on all of this, and I want to give you a genuine opinion rather than just stringing facts together. The situation Rockstar is in right now is genuinely extraordinary in the history of major game releases. They are less than 3 months from launch. They have an extended official presentation scheduled for August 27th through Netflix. They should be in full control of the narrative right now, drip-feeding details, generating hype through official channels, controlling the exact moment the world sees each new piece of GTA 6. That's what Rockstar does. They decide when you see Jason. They decide when you see Lucia. They besonders for Lucia. They bill you win day. That controlled reveal strategy has been Rockstar's defining approach to marketing for years, and it works brilliantly when nothing goes wrong. Right now, nothing is going right. CyberLeek is posting gameplay footage from what appears to be a full playable build. Take-Two is issuing federal subpoenas seeking records from Microsoft and Discord. The community's mapping project is comparing the CyberLeek County map image against years of fan reconstruction. And now, separately, a graphics capture file reportedly from a phishing attack on a Rockstar employee is giving technically skilled community members height map data and a minimap texture before Rockstar's official presentation has even happened. These are not the same problem. They may not share the same source, but they are happening at the same time and they are compounding each other in a way that Rockstar's traditional response mechanisms, DMCA takedowns, legal action, radio silence, are structurally limited to address. The most powerful move Rockstar has available isn't another takedown. It's the August 27th presentation. Show us the current build. Show us Leonida from the air, on the ground, from the water. Show us how much has changed and improved since any leaked material was captured. make whatever is circulating look like ancient history by comparison. You cannot unleak a graphics capture file, but you can make it irrelevant. The best containment for leaked development data is a fill material so much more complete and impressive that the community's focus shifts entirely to what Rockstar is choosing to show, rather than what someone extracted from a rendering file. That's the play. I genuinely hope they make it on the 27th. Because honestly, the most remarkable thing about this whole week, and I mean this sincerely, is what it says about the GTA mapping community. These are people who spent years extracting Leonida from trailer frames and utility poles and coordinate data embedded in 2022 development footage. They built an 18,000 by 18,000 unit world reconstruction from fragments that a normal person would never even notice. Rockstar shows 4 seconds of a road and they identify the intersection. Rockstar shows a distant bridge and they estimate its position in the world's coordinate space. A graphics capture file surfaces from what appears to be a phishing incident, and within hours the right people have extracted height maps and minimap textures. It's honestly one of the most impressive collective technical projects I've seen built around a game that hasn't even launched yet. GTA fans have essentially turned waiting for this game into an archaeological expedition, and the world they're excavating may now be better documented before release than almost any Rockstar map in history. But here is the thing that sits underneath all of this and keeps nagging at me, and I think it should nag at you too. At the start of this week, Rockstar had one leak problem: CyberLeek. One persona, one apparent source, one set of gameplay videos. Take-Two's lawyers are hunting CyberLeek right now through federal subpoenas to Microsoft and Discord. They may find them. CyberLeek's days of anonymity are probably numbered. But if this Xbox graphics capture material genuinely came from a completely separate incident, reportedly a phishing attack on a Rockstar employee that has nothing to do with CyberLeek's playable build, then finding CyberLeek tomorrow would not end the GTA 6 leak story. It would only close one chapter of it. The question that nobody can currently answer with certainty is how many points of exit this information has found. How many places GTA 6 data has escaped from? How many separate incidents have contributed to the volume of material now circulating through communities worldwide? Rockstar's problem may not be a leak, it may be leaks. And those are very different problems to solve. CyberLeek shows community GTA 6 fair's perspective, gameplay, movement, the world in motion from the inside. The Xbox graphics capture material appears to have shown technically skilled fans something that exists underneath that image. The geometry, the terrain, the texture of how Leonida was built. One source showed us the world, the other may be exposing pieces of what the world is made of. And Rockstar is now 90 days from launch, trying to manage both at once. Maybe CyberLeek was never where this